Okay. Hello, seventh grade. Today we are going to learn about the Hopi people and the baskets that they made, and specifically the coil baskets that they made. So to make the project, what you're going to need in terms of materials are some yarn. You can use really as many colors as you want, or just one color. I chose three that I liked together. You need a length of coiling cord. This is about an arm's length if you stretched your hands out as far as you could go. It's about 6 feet probably for me. This is yarn needles, just a little plastic one. And of course, just some scissors. So to start out, what you have to do is take your coiling cord and you want to bevel the ends. So I would just start with one end for the beginning. Mine's also really fraying bad, so I think I'm going to trim some of those off just so that they're not in the way. So much. And then you want to bevel the end, and you'll see why here in a minute. Just cut that at about a 45, maybe a little more. Like so. And then you want to choose whichever yarn you want to start with. I decided that I wanted to do the dark blue, so I got just a length cut here. Again, probably about an arm's length is fine. One arm, not two. You can always add more to it, but it's probably easier to start with not a huge length so that it doesn't tangle. So you're going to start with that and the end of your coiling cord that you beveled. And what you want to do is, for a circular basket, you want to start with the yarn about 2 inches down your coiling cord, overlapping it. So I've got about 2 inches there, and you want to leave a little bit of room for your fingers to hold it. So a little room for my thumb, and then 2 inches. If you want an oval-shaped basket, then I would pull this down just a little bit further, more like that. So you've got maybe 3 inches instead. I think I want mine circular, so I'm going to leave a little for my finger, and then about 2 inches or so. Not an exact science. And then from there, you're going to start wrapping this around. So I'm pinching my end against my coiling cord, like here. And you really don't want to let go of that. Just keep it nice and tight. And then as you're wrapping this around, you want to try to make sure that your white cord is not showing through your blue yarn or whatever your color is. And you want to wrap all the way down until the bevel starts. You might want to flip it and check just to make sure that it's not showing through on the other side as well. And I'm not really wrapping too tight, just enough that it doesn't unravel or slide around. And like I said, you really don't want the white to show through. That will look very sloppy. All right, so I'm down to about where the bevel started. Oops. Now what I want to do is I'm going to pinch this as well so that it stays nice and tight, and I'm going to bend this closed. Now, this kind of wants to pop open a little bit, so what you're going to do to prevent that is you're going to start wrapping your yarn around. You can go up a little bit further instead of right down beside it, but either way, you're going to coil, coil, coil. Again, I'm trying to go in the same direction. Don't if you go the other direction, it'll just unravel. Now you can see I'm kind of coming to the end of my piece of yarn. No big deal. Once I get down a little bit further, I'm going to hold this kind of in the palm of my hand so that it can't come undone. Pull my regular skein over. Get myself another big piece. A little tangled. Whoops. Sorry about that. And nip that off. And then I'm just going to tie these together. Now, this is a good place to show you, I guess. There is a special yarn tying knot that I want you guys to use. It's super tight and it will never come undone. What you do is you lay your 2 pieces of yarn right next to each other and you pinch them with your thumb and pointer finger, like so. And then take the piece that's loose, or in some cases it's attached to the skein still, the roll. And you want to wrap it around your pointer finger and your thumb one time, like so. And then the second time you want to go between your fingers, but over top of your bits. So if you look in there, oh, it's a little hard to bend my hands that way, but your piece of yarn is going over top of those last 2 little tails. Then inside your fingers, you're going to take these two little tails and fold them over top of that piece of yarn, so you're kind of making like a little yarn sandwich, and then pinch these two fingers gently and pull on this piece of yarn. And what should happen is that little loop will slide down over top of that little yarn sandwich, and it will pull really, really tight. If you really struggle with that knot, then you could just tie a regular knot. But this, I mean, I've made blankets and things and put them through the washing machine. It'll never come undone. It's really tight, really solid knot. So then we're going to go back to where we started. Oh, I've got a little white showing through, so maybe I'll back up a little bit, since I let go of it. That little white peeked through. And I'm just going to keep wrapping this around until that beveled piece is completely covered. Oh, this is fraying pretty good. I'll trim those. All right, now these are getting in my way, so I'm just going to trim these off. So they're not so bothersome. And we'll keep wrapping. So if this is the end, but this little loop here that I've got, might be hard to see, but this little loop here is about maybe an inch long. I want to double that. So I'm going to coil down at about another inch before I start to wrap it around. Don't worry about that little bump from the knot, no big deal. It'll blend right in, you won't even notice. So as you can see, I'm pulling the yarn through the whole way every time, otherwise it wraps around this and it's just sort of a nuisance. That's part of the reason that I said you should probably not use super long pieces of yarn at one time, just so it doesn't get tangled so easily. All right, so I'm about double my length. Now, if you remember, my coil started here and went around this direction. So when I start to wrap this around to make the coil, I want to keep going in that direction. If I try to fight this and go back the other way, it's just going to give you problems the whole time. So I want to continue going in the direction that it wants to go. So this first little loop, it kind of wants to fight you a little bit. So you have to have give it a little force. I'm going to pull this around like so and hold that nice and tight. Now, I suppose I should say before we do that, you're going to take your yarn needle, thread the end of your yarn, and tie this in a knot. You could do this at the very beginning too. Doesn't really matter. Right? But we want the knot on the end just so that it doesn't slide off. So then going back to where I was, if you're going to pull this around, now my yarn is going over and around, so I'm going to go underneath and I want to poke my needle through the center of my previous coil. Pull that through, and what that will do, I'm going to keep this cinched up close, pull that nice and tight, and what that will do is it starts to pull your coil around. Now, because this is the first stitch, I would recommend maybe doing that twice, just so it's a little bit stronger. And then from here, oh man, these fuzzies. From here, you're going to start coiling, but you want to count your coils. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would do between 3 and 5. If you have thin yarn, maybe 5. If you have thicker yarn, then maybe 3. And then once you're through with your series of coils, you want to do another stitch. So you're going to go back up through the middle, pull that nice and tight, like so. And then again, more coils. 1, 2, 3, 4. Want to cover up all that white. 5. All right. I'm going to go back through the middle again. And you can see as we start to do that, it starts to pull around and make a nice, neat little coil. All right. Oh, lost my iPad. All right, so that is how you start. All right, good luck, guys.